Rick, thanks. Tonight our team coverage continues. We're working to get reaction on how this proposed budget will impact our state.
I'd like to be part of the solution to the budget versus a casualty.
This is a major, I would call, crisis in school funding for all of us.
Please think of education. Our kids are our future.
Let's go back live to Lansing. The governor calling for concessions from state employees, and some public workers and their supporters rallied at the Capitol today. 24-hour News 8's Tony Tagliavia looking at that issue. Tony?
Good evening, Brian. We looked through state records and found there are about 8,500 state workers working in West Michigan. The governor's plan includes a call for $180 million in state worker concessions. It calls for cutting 300 workers at the Department of Human Services. It calls for closing a prison, and it recommends or suggests trying to privatize some prison services. We caught up with some of the people from West Michigan making their voices heard here at the Capitol.
When you mention state workers, people automatically think of the people at the top, and that's not the way it is.
Ernest Garcia says he took a vacation day from his private sector job in Muskegon County to stand with public workers in Michigan.
I'm just here to support them.
Ken Moore was among the marchers, too. The Ionia man and former prison worker is president of one state workers union, the Michigan State Employees Association. He says workers are willing to be part of the solution as long as the sacrifice is felt across the board. And Moore says state workers have already made some sacrifices.
Since 2003, $370 million in concessions we've given as servants to this great state of Michigan. And it's time we share the burden.
One major backdrop for this debate on concessions from state workers is how their pay and benefits compare to those in the private sector. The governor's office issued a report that said, on average, a public worker will earn about twice what a private sector worker will on average. But critics said that wasn't really comparing apples to apples, and another study that was commissioned by unions and other groups says when you take into account things like level of education and the size of organizations people work for, that public workers are actually paid less. That'll be a big part of this debate, and we'll be watching it. Live in Lansing, Tony Tagliavia, 24-hour News.